diaphragm, here is the aortic opening, esophageal opening, vena cava opening. So after piercing through the aortic opening, aorta is continuing downward as the descending abdominal aorta. Okay, and so it extends from the aortic opening of the diaphragm till the body of the L4 vertebra. Here posteriorly lies the body of the L4 vertebra. This is the vertebral level where the abdominal aorta is dividing into two branches, two common iliac branches, right common iliac and left common iliac. Okay, and these common iliacs are again dividing into external iliac and internal iliac. So these are the two terminal branches. This level is very important. Abdominal aorta divides at the level of L4 vertebral level. Okay. Also along with it, it is asked where the vena cava is formed, inferior vena cava, where it is formed. It is formed just below the level of aorta, L5 level. Okay, two common iliac veins join to form the inferior vena cava at the level of L5. Okay, these two vertebral levels are very important for your MCQ and Viva. Okay. So what are the measurements of abdominal aorta? Length is about 10 to 11 centimeter. Width is about 2 centimeter. Okay, so these are the measurements of the abdominal aorta. Next, so here is the aortic opening. These are the two common iliac branches, and here is formation of inferior vena cava going upward, passing through the vena cava opening, draining into the right atrium of the heart. And see the some branches have been shown here. See, first branch after piercing the aortic opening, this branch, these are inferior phrenic arteries. Okay, they are supplying the diaphragm, inferior phrenic artery. And from the inferior phrenic artery, one suprarenal artery is arriving. See, these are the two kidneys. Here are the suprarenal gland. Okay, so superior suprarenal artery is a branch of this inferior phrenic artery. Okay, middle suprarenal artery is direct branch from the abdominal aorta, and inferior suprarenal artery is branch from the renal artery. See here is the renal branches are being given to the kidneys. Posterior to the vein is lying the artery, renal artery. Okay, and these are the gonadal arteries. For male, it will be the testicular artery. For female, it will be the ovarian artery. Okay. After that, and there are some ventral branches, celiac trans, then superior mesenteric artery and inferior mesenteric artery. And these are the two terminal branches, two common iliac, right and left common iliac, and posteriorly here one branch is going downward, that is median sacral arteries. We will discuss all the branches. And three ventral branches you have to see in your dissection also. Celiac trunk, superior mesenteric artery, inferior mesenteric artery. These are the three ventral branches from the abdominal aorta. You have to also learn all the details of the branches, their supply of these three branches of aorta. Okay. Okay, next. So this is the extent. This is arch of aorta, three branches, descending thoracic aorta continues downward below the aortic opening as the abdominal aorta. On the two sides lies these two crus of the diaphragm. Okay, right and left crus of the diaphragm. This is osteoaponeurotic opening. So no change occur during breathing in this aortic opening. Next. So these are different branches has been shown. See here, celiac trunk, superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric. These are the two renal arteries, inferior phrenic, middle suprarenal. See, this superior suprarenal artery is branch from the inferior phrenic. Middle suprarenal is direct branch from abdominal aorta. Inferior suprarenal is branch from the renal arteries. Okay, these are the gonadal arteries. And here is the median sacral artery, and posteriorly these are the lumbar arteries. Okay, and these are two common iliac dividing into external iliac, internal iliac. External iliac is giving deep external pudendal and inferior epigastric, and this is inguinal ligament. Below the inguinal ligament, from the mid inguinal point, it is extending downward as the femoral artery. This external iliac is continuing downward in the lower extremity as the femoral artery. Okay, then it will become popliteal artery, then divide into anterior, posterior, tibial like this. Okay, next. Here also you can see the different relations. Okay, the always remember the vein, inferior vena cava is to the right and abdominal aorta is to the left. That's why the length of the renal artery varies. Okay, length of the left renal artery is less and length of right renal artery is more because you have to cross the inferior vena cava. And one thing you note, two gonadal arteries are direct branch from this abdominal aorta, but two gonadal veins. Right gonadal vein is draining into inferior vena cava, but left gonadal vein is draining into the left renal vein. Okay, that is also important. That's why varicocele is more common on the left side. Okay, because acute angle of draining. Okay, next. So what is the beginning? It is continuation of the descending thoracic aorta at the aortic opening of the diaphragm opposite the lower border of the T12 vertebra. Vertebral level is important. Aortic opening lies at T12 vertebral level. Course, it descends vertically downward and slightly to the left in front of the vertebral column, and termination by dividing into two common iliac arteries opposite the L4 vertebra. Okay. Next, now we have to see the relations of the abdominal aorta. Okay. So first we will see the anterior relations. From above downward, anterior to the aorta lies this ciliac and aortic plexuses. These are nerve plexuses formed by the autonomic nerves. Okay, mainly sympathetic. Okay, sympathetic and parasympathetic also. Splenic vein, body of the pancreas, third part of the duodenum, root of the mesentery and left renal vein. These structures are lying anterior to the abdominal aorta. Next, see here. This is vena cava, here is the abdominal aorta. See, this is the third part of the duodenum, here is the pancreas. Okay. Root of mesentery will also see, these are the superior mesenteric vessels. Renal vein will also lie, this is kidney, so here left renal vein is also lie here. So all these are anterior, lies anterior to this abdominal anterior relation. Next, see, this is the lesser omentum. Okay, root, lesser omentum, and these are the structures entering into the hilum of the liver. So all here is the duodenum is starting, first part, second part, and this is greater omentum attached on the greater curvature of the stomach. Next, these are the veins. Okay, see, this is splenic vein, here is the left renal vein, third part of the duodenum, inferior vena cava, superior mesenteric artery. These three structures, these four structures are lying anterior to the abdominal aorta. Splenic vein, left renal artery, superior mesenteric artery, and third part of the duodenum, and forming the anterior relation. Also the pancreas. Okay, their head has been kept, but the rest of the part has been cut. Next, the relation has been shown. This is superior mesenteric vessels, pancreas, third part of duodenum, like this, and these are forming the mesentery. Okay. Next, now posterior relation. Posteriorly lies the bodies of the L1 to L4 vertebra and corresponding intervertebral disc. Anterior longitudinal ligaments, these are connecting the anterior surface of the bodies of the vertebra. And third and fourth left lumbar veins. These are forming posterior relation of the abdominal aorta. Next, see here, this is aorta, and here it has been shown upper four lumbar vertebra. Posterior to the aorta lies the four lumbar vertebra. Okay, L4 level it is dividing. So upper four lumbar vertebra lie posterior to it. Next, and the lumbar veins, third and fourth lumbar veins. These are the lumbar veins. Third and fourth lumbar veins. Okay, draining into this inferior vena cava. Next, and crus of the diaphragm. These are attached over the bodies of the lumbar vertebra. Okay, right and left crus. Right crus extending up to L3, left crus up to L2. Okay, so crushes are also forming posterior relation of the aorta. Next on the sides, on the right side lies the inferior vena cava. See here, abdominal aorta, the right side you can see the inferior vena cava, and on the left side there will be sympathetic trunk, left sympathetic trunk and left crus of the diaphragm. In the previous picture you have seen the crus of the diaphragm. Next, this is the sympathetic chain. Okay, sympathetic chain is left sympathetic chain is forming left relation of the aorta. Right one is lying on the right side. Mainly this part is occupied by the inferior vena cava. And see here, these are the plexuses, ciliac plexus and superior mesenteric plexus, inferior mesenteric plexus formed by the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve, mainly sympathetic plexus. Okay, and ganglions are also formed. Next, inferior vena cava lying right of this aorta. It has been shown. Next, lymphatics are also lying. See, here is the cisterna chyli lying posterior to this inferior vena cava. Here is the cisterna chyli. Lymphatics, and these are the lymph nodes, pre-aortic and para-aortic group of lymph nodes. Para means on the two sides of the aorta. Pre-aortic means in front of the aorta. Okay. Next you have to see the branches. Branches are very important. It very frequently asked in your viva, also can come as a short note. Okay, branches of abdominal aorta. Okay, so first we will discuss the anterior branches or ventral branches. Three branches are present: ciliac trunk, superior mesenteric artery and inferior mesenteric artery. See, here is the ciliac trunk, vertebral level is T12. Okay, here is superior mesenteric artery. It arises about 1 centimeter below the ciliac trunk. Okay, vertebral level is L1. Here is the inferior mesenteric artery. It arises around L3 level. Okay, inferior mesenteric vertebral level is L3. So these three are the anterior branches. Then there are lateral branches. These are paired branches. These are single in number. Okay, ciliac trunk, superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric. Lateral branches are paired. They include these arteries: inferior phrenic artery. Here are the inferior phrenic. The green colored one are the lateral branches. Okay, inferior phrenic artery. Then middle suprarenal artery supplying the suprarenal gland. Then renal artery. These two are the renal artery supplying the kidneys. And gonadal artery, testicular artery for male, ovarian artery for female. Okay, so here are the gonadal artery. Next, so these four were the lateral branches. Then there are posterior branches. Posterior branches, four pair of lumbar arteries. See, these small arteries going on two sides on the posterior aspect of aorta. These are the lumbar arteries. Another is median sacral artery. Here is the median sacral artery. These two are the posterior branches. Then there are terminal branches, two common iliac arteries, right and left common iliac arteries. Okay, so you have to tell the branches in this following divisions. Okay, anterior branches, lateral branches, posterior branches, and terminal branches. Okay. Next, we will discuss individual branches. Here also the branches has been shown. Inferior phrenic supplying the diaphragm. These three are ventral branches: ciliac trunk, superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric. Here are the lateral branches: inferior phrenic, middle suprarenal, Here is the renal artery and gonadal artery. And posterior branches are these lumbar artery and median factor. And these two are the terminal branches, left and right, common ilia. Then it is dividing into external ilia, internal ilia, and external iliac is giving inferior epigastric artery and deep circumflex iliac artery. And after that, it crossing the mid-inguinal point and extending downward as the femoral artery. Okay, here it is written. Next, those branches have been shown. You have seen. Next, the three ventral branches you have to know in details. Okay, celiac trunk, superior mesenteric, and inferior mesenteric. So first, the celiac trunk or celiac artery. It is also known as celiac trunk. Celiac trunk because it is very small. Its length is very small, almost 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter. Then it divides into three terminal branches. Okay? Left gastric, common hepatic, and splenic. These three branches are arising. It is about 1.25 centimeter in length. It is the first major branch of abdominal aorta. But first branch from abdominal aorta is inferior phrenic. Okay, these points are important for your MCQ. First branch is inferior phrenic. First major branch is celiac trunk. Okay. So there are three main divisions of celiac trunk, and each in turn has its own named branches. Left gastric artery, common hepatic artery, and splenic artery. These are the three branches of celiac trunk. Left gastric artery, it supplies blood to the stomach and esophagus. Common hepatic artery supplies blood to the liver, pylorus of the stomach, duodenum, and pancreas. And splenic artery supplies the spleen. Okay, so these are the supply of these three branches. Okay, next. Next is superior mesenteric artery. Another, it is the major artery of abdomen, artery of the midgut. Celiac trunk was artery of the foregut. Okay, this is artery of midgut. It is usually 1 centimeter lower than the celiac trunk. It has 5 branches. These are the branches. Inferior pancreatico-duodenum. That means supplying the pancreas and duodenum. Intestinal arteries. These are the jejunal and ileal branches. Okay, supplying the jejunum and ileum. Next is ileocolic, right colic, and middle colic. These are supplying the colon. Okay, cecum, ascending colon, part of the transverse colon, terminal part of ileum, appendix. Those are supplied by the branches. Okay, ileocolic, right colic, and middle colic. So inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery supplies blood to the head of the pancreas and to the ascending and inferior part of the duodenum, also. And as intestinal arteries, ascending means fourth part and inferior means third part. Third and fourth part is supplied by this superior mesenteric because it is included within midgut. Okay, first and second part is included within the foregut. So that will be supplied by branch from celiac trunk. So an intestinal arteries branches to the ileum and branches to the jejunum, supplying this. Ileocolic artery supplies last part of the ileum and appendix, also the cecum. Okay, and right colic artery supplying the ascending colon. Middle colic artery also supply blood to the colon, mainly the part of the transverse colon and right colic plexus. Okay. Next we go to the inferior mesenteric artery. This is the artery of the hindgut. It supplies arterial blood to the organs of the hindgut. It has 3 branches, mainly supplying the colon and rectum. Left colic artery, sigmoid branches, and superior rectal artery. Continuation of inferior mesenteric artery is known as superior rectal artery. That's why superior rectal artery is single, but middle and inferior rectal are paired arteries. Okay, because it is single one inferior mesenteric. So left colic artery supplies blood to the descending colon. Sigmoid branches supplies blood to the sigmoid Left colic is supplying the descending colon, sigmoid branch is supplying sigmoid colon, superior rectal artery supplies the rectum. Okay, and some part of the transverse colon on the left 1/3 is also supplied by this inferior mesenteric artery. Next, see these are the branches. See, this is celiac trunk. We have discussed celiac trunk branches. Superior mesenteric artery. Okay, it is giving the jejunal ileal branches. Also, here is the ileocolic, right colic, and middle colic. Okay, and this is inferior mesenteric artery giving the left colic, sigmoid branch, and continuing downward as the rectal artery. See, this is pelvis pubis. Just behind the pubis, this is urinary bladder. Posterior feet, there is the rectum in male. And in case of female, there will be uterus, and after that, you will get this rectum. Okay. So here is sigmoid colon has been cut, and it will be continuous with this rectum. So these are branches of inferior mesenteric, and here are the branches from the superior mesenteric arteries. Next. These are the two terminal branches have been shown. Here is the aortic opening, here is begins aorta, and then divide terminal branches are two common iliac dividing into external, internal iliac. Next. So common iliac artery, the abdominal aorta divides to form the common iliac artery in the lower abdomen L4 level. Okay, and these vessels supply silence everyone. And these vessels supply blood to the pelvic organs, gluteal regions, and legs. Each common iliac artery descends a short distance and divides into internal. Next. See, these are the two common iliac dividing into external, internal iliac. Next. See, these are the branches. Common iliac dividing into external iliac, internal iliac. Internal iliac has multiple branches. It is dividing into anterior, posterior division, and from this division it is supplying this bladder, rectum, uterus in female. Okay, ovarian arteries, all those are coming from this internal iliac, and external iliac is continuing and the femoral artery. And these are the corresponding veins. Okay, corresponding veins are draining into forming the superior mesenteric vein draining into the inferior vena cava. Superior mesenteric and splenic vein join to form the portal vein. Portal vein is entering into the liver through the porta hepatis. Next, these are the sympathetic chains and nerve plexus have been shown. Cilia ganglion, here are the splanchnic nerve, superior mesenteric ganglion, inferior mesenteric ganglion. On the two sides, the sympathetic chains, nerve plexuses have been shown here. Next. Okay, so these see here multiple branches are coming out from the internal iliac. Okay, and here is the external iliac. Next, ganglions have also been shown near the celiac trunk, celiac plexus or celiac ganglion. Near the superior mesenteric, there is superior mesenteric ganglion. Near the inferior mesenteric, here is the inferior mesenteric ganglion. And on the two sides, the sympathetic chains. And crassus, you can see here properly. Right crus, left crus. Next. Okay, now some clinical aspect of the aorta. Okay, these are two clinical aspects. Aortic aneurysm. Aortic aneurysm is localized dilatation of the abdominal aorta. See, here is the dilatation. Usually occurs in infrarenal part of the abdominal aorta. Here is the renal artery. Below the, after giving the renal artery, this dilatation mainly occurs. Localized dilatation of abdominal aorta. Commonly occurs in elderly men, those who are suffering from atherosclerosis. Okay, and what is the complication can occur? fatal rupture of aortic aneurysm. And if rupture is suspected in aortic aneurysm, it is fatal in about 90% of cases, and due to heavy blood loss, death may occur. Okay, very dangerous situation. If you can detect aortic aneurysm, patients have to be very careful. Next, pulsation of abdominal aorta. It is not generally felt. In which condition you can feel it? In normal individual, abdominal pulsation cannot be felt. Pulsation of abdominal aorta can be felt in these two cases: tumors of structures overlying the aorta, that means though forming the anterior relations, third part of duodenum or pancreas or renal vein, splenic vein. In case of tumors of these structures or some nerve plexus, nervous tumor or some lymphatic tumor, if they are lying over the aorta, pulsation passes through the hard mass and you can feel it over the abdomen. So tumors of structure overlying the aorta and aortic aneurysm. In case of aortic aneurysm, you can feel the pulsation over the abdomen. Next, okay, and other branches you also have to know. The renal branches are important. Its divisions you have to learn during the kidneys. You have to know the branches. Okay, branches of abdomen are very important. And so the ventral branches, three ventral branches you have to know in detail. Okay, celiac trunk, superior mesenteric and inferior mesenteric. Okay, any queries from this topic? And vertebral levels are important, where it is continuation of which artery at which level and its termination. And the iliac branches you will learn in, you will see in details during your pelvic dissection. And in posterior abdominal wall dissection you will see all those branches, renal arteries and all those ventral branches also you will see. Okay, abdominal dissection you will start up, then you will see all these branches. Any queries? Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.
Amino acid of metabolism, and we already complete the amino acid on the basic classification of their structure. The first one is simple amino acid, that is glycine, we already complete. Then branch chain amino acid, that is isoleucine, leucine and valine. Glycine is already complete, and glycine and branch chain amino acid we going to be completed. After then sulfur containing amino acid we already complete, related with their disorders like homocystinuria and other cystinuria. Okay, and aromatic amino acid is also complete. Your major of amino acid is going to be completed here. Today we are going to discuss hydroxyl amino acid. Hydroxyl amino acid means those contain OH group in their functional group, as a functional group. Okay, the examples are serine and threonine. Okay, for this metabolism, you already know that these metabolisms are called glucogenic amino acids. Glucogenic amino acid. That means these metabolism during catabolism process, because as you already know in the metabolism section there are two processes. The first one is anabolism, second one is catabolism. Anabolism means synthesizing, catabolism means breakdown. But in this amino acid, these will be taken as a dietary source, as an exogenous source of amino acid, that is dietary source we take in the diet, and after the breakdown, after the absorption, we get these particular amino acid, and this particular amino acid is further going for the process of production of glucose, either produced by their substrate like pyruvate. So we call this amino acid as glucogenic amino acid. What we call glucogenic amino acid. If somebody is asking what is glucogenic amino acid, you just simply say it is a precursor for the synthesis of glucose by the formation of pyruvate, by the formation of succinyl-CoA, either it go for TCA cycle and some other processes. Okay, that is called glucogenic amino acid. Same for serine. Serine is basically formed by the metabolism pathway you already seen in the glycine. Okay, in the glycine cascade pathway the serine is formed. Okay, so we discuss about this serine. The cascade pathway, it is very simple. It is only the catabolism part. Transferase, that means is further the process of transamination. So it is PLP dependent. It is PLP pyridoxal phosphate. It is vitamin B6 dependent enzyme. It is for it. That is the coenzymatic form. That is requirement for the actions of serine hydroxy methyl transferase. Okay. After the formation of serine, it is converted into pyruvate. After the formation of serine, it is with the enzyme serine hydratase. With the enzyme serine hydratase. It is PLP dependent enzyme. Okay, very simple, nothing too new in this section. That is hydroxyl containing amino acid is serine further catabolized. First it is formed by the metabolism of glycine. Okay, serine is formed and serine is further produces pyruvate. And you already know pyruvate is what? It is a substrate for which cycle? Glycolysis. TCA cycle. Okay, so it is glucogenic amino acid. It is what? Glucogenic amino acid. Now, the next one is threonine. Amino acid metabolism, the important is this is which type of reaction? This is transamination reactions. And transamination reaction is always depend on PLP, pyridoxal phosphate enzyme, vitamin dependent enzyme. Okay, so always kept in your mind, transamination is always depend on pyridoxal phosphate for their catalytic activity. Okay, now threonine. Produces acetaldehyde. Produces acetaldehyde by enzyme aldolase. Threonine aldolase. Process the removal of amino acid called glycine. and this acetaldehyde is by enzyme activity of acetaldehyde dehydrogenase. It is any reaction. Okay, so converted into acetaldehyde and then it is converted into acetate. Okay, and these acetate further next process it is converted into next of this CoA by enzyme ADP plus inorganic phosphate. And acetyl CoA is known, it is also a precursor for gluconeogenesis. Okay, so it's again produces further reaction. Okay, so you will see this is another example of hydroxyl amino acid which is firstly converted into acetaldehyde by the enzyme threonine aldolase. Okay, and after then it is converted into acetate and finally acetate is converted into acetyl CoA which is a precursor for gluconeogenesis. So ultimately it is a glucogenic amino acid and the main motto of this amino acid is to produce energy. How it is produce energy? In this way. Protein is utilized. Okay. Now we see the threonine another metabolic pathway which produces intermediate substrate for TCA cycle. And lastly, propionyl CoA. Propionyl CoA by threonine dehydrate by ammonic reactions it produces okay. So this is the reaction which produces intermediate substance for TCA cycle, propionyl CoA. Okay. So ultimately you will see that it produces intermediate for TCA cycle for the generation acetyl. So ultimately this is a glucogenic amino acid and here we complete this amino acid because it is too small to understand. The major metabolic pathway in these amino acids are branched chain amino acid and aromatic amino acid, which is very important. Let me see some clinical related with that. चल क्यों आया, क्या है? And this is also a branch in amino acid metabolism, that is valine, isoleucine and leucine. Okay, valine is glucogenic, isoleucine is both glucogenic and ketogenic, and leucine is only ketogenic. That you understand with these terms, that means it is a precursor for the synthesis of glucose, precursor for the synthesis of ketone bodies. Let us see. Firstly, these catabolic reaction for branch and amino acid are similar catalyzed by common enzymes, that is transamination reactions. Transamination reaction. What is the motto of this reaction? To produce alpha keto acid. Okay, alpha keto acid. And second one is oxidative decarboxylation, in which alpha keto acid are oxidatively decarboxylated to the corresponding acyl CoA thioester by branch in alpha keto acid dehydrogenase complexes. Thymine pyrophosphate, FAD, lipoic acid are required as a coenzyme for this reaction. These all are what? These are coenzyme for the actions of these enzyme, acyl CoA thioesters and dehydrogenases complexes. So all the dehydrogenases complex enzyme are depend on which coenzymes? Thymine pyrophosphate, FAD, flavin, adenine, dimine, and lipoic acid. Now third one is dehydrogenation. Okay, let me see the reactions. That is valine, isoleucine and leucine. This is the cascade pathway for this metabolism, and you will see firstly it form alpha keto isovalerate, alpha keto beta methylvalerate, alpha keto isocaprate. Okay, so these all substrate are formed by which type of reactions? Transamination reaction. Which type of reaction? Transamination reactions. Okay, and after then in the next step it form isobutyryl CoA, 2-methylbutyryl CoA, isovaryl CoA by enzyme by the reaction oxidative decarboxylation. Okay, which is branch chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase dependent enzyme. Okay, it is TPP dependent alpha keto acid dehydrogenase enzyme. Okay, which form isobutyryl CoA, 2-methylbutyryl CoA and isobutyryl valyl CoA. And in this metabolism, if there is deficiency of enzyme alpha keto dehydrogenase, then there is very important disease is caused. We call this disease maple syrup urine disease, MSUD. Maple syrup urine disease. This cases comes in your exam. 5 नंबर का ये केस, 15 नंबर का केस आपके एग्जाम में आता है. This question put in your exam. What is MSUD? MSUD is a kind of disease in which alpha chain, it is related with branch chain amino acid metabolic disorder in which a branch chain keto dehydrogenase enzymes is deficient, and due to this disease is caused. We discuss in the next slide. Okay, after then you will see, after then there is a formation of succinyl CoA, first one, and it form acetoacetate, leucine, and acetoacetate is the formation for the acetone. Formation for acetone. Acetoacetate is what? Who will tell what is acetoacetate? Madam, you will tell? Yes? Acetoacetate, you don't know? We have 3 types of ketone bodies: acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate and acetone. Okay, so these are the ketone bodies. That's why leucine is a ketogenic amino acid. That means it forms ketone bodies by HMG-CoA reductase enzyme. Understand? And you will see these both the enzymes are what? These both the enzymes are glucogenic, and let's see the first side. Isoleucine both glucogenic and ketogenic. It is ketogenic, it is glucogenic. Let's see. You will see that's propenyl CoA, methylmalonyl CoA, and lastly succinyl CoA. That is glucogenic amino acid, that is ketogenic amino acid. So these are the metabolic pathway for the catabolism of branch chain amino acid. Here we are not talking about anabolism. We are talking about catabolism. That means degradation of this amino acid. These amino acid degraded to formation of acetoacetate, formation of ketone bodies production, and formation of succinyl CoA. That is glucogenic amino acid. अब कोई ये नहीं कहेगा कि सिर्फ प्रोटीन खाने से ग्लूकोज नहीं बनता है. You already know the biochemistry. If we take excess amount of protein, so there may be a chances for storage form of this production. Protein can produce energy also in this form, this metabolic pathways also. Okay. Now there is only one important metabolic disorder related with this branch chain amino acid, that is maple syrup urine disease or branch chain ketoaciduria. Branch chain ketoaciduria. What is happen in this case? In this, there is alpha ketoacid dehydrogenase enzyme is deficient. It is not present. It is not synthesized by the central dogma. You already know the central dogma. Central dogma, you know, it is genetic defect. There is no formation of the enzymes, and due to this, the branch chain amino acid isoleucine, leucine, and valine accumulate in blood, urine, and cerebrospinal fluid. The accumulation of these amino acid in the blood occur because it is not metabolized. Okay, and due to this, alpha keto acid is a characteristic sweet odor to the urine of the affected individual with resemblance with maple syrup or burnt sugar, hence the same. What does it mean sentence? That means alpha keto acid. Alpha keto acid having the odor of sweet odor. This is a prominent symptoms of this disease. If a person having MSUD, then they going for the urination, then these type of odor may sense. Such kind of odor may sense due to presence of alpha keto acid. Okay, so you write it. The major symptoms of the disease is, and the symptoms are vomiting, dehydration, metabolic acidosis, because alpha keto acid is accumulate. Alpha keto acid is accumulate, and due to this they can imbalance the pH of the body, and that produces metabolic acidosis. Okay, and maple syrup odor to the urine. If untreated, it leads to mental retardation, coma, even death within 1 year after birth. If it is not treated, it causes toxifications, it causes mental retardation, several neurological disorders may appear, and it leads to death if it is not treated. How it is treated? Question is that, how can we treat this disease? Either we provide the enzymes, alpha keto dehydrogenase, that's the one. Other chance, if we provide a diet which don't have these types of amino acids, protein deficient diet, amino acid deficient diet to such patient. Okay, let's see diagnosis. Many infants with MSUD are identified through newborn screening program, and this is the technique through which this disease may be recognized. So write it, this technique, tandem mass spectrometry. This is the technique through which we can identify a disease. MSUD. What is MSUD? Maple syrup urine disease, which is caused by the metabolic disorder of branch chain amino acid that is isoleucine, leucine and valine, which is not metabolized by the deficiency of alpha keto dehydrogenase enzyme. And due to this, all these amino acids accumulate in the blood, and which causes several symptoms like vomiting, retardation and other things. Okay. Now treatment, we involving replacing dietary protein by mixture of amino acid to contain low or no leucine, isoleucine और valine. मतलब ऐसे अमाइनो एसिड देने हैं या फिर ऐसी प्रोटीन डाइट देनी है जिसमें ब्रांच चेन अमाइनो एसिड ना हो. Those diet not contain branch chain amino acid. We provide such kind of child. Okay. To monitor the effectiveness of the dietary treatment, plasma and urinary level of branch chain amino acid with dinitrophenol hydrazine should be measured constantly. This is the method for measuring this. Okay. In the maple syrup urine disease. All of you understand maple syrup urine disease? All of you understand maple syrup urine disease? If somebody is asking what is maple syrup urine disease, you clearly say it is a metabolic disorder of branch chain amino acid. Which one? Branch chain amino acid. Okay. This topic is already complete. Metabolism of phenylalanine and tyrosine. PKU, no? What is PKU? Phenylketonuria. Very important disease. I think you all already completed. I am not repeating here. Alkaptonuria, very important disease. We already complete all this. Tryptophan we complete, both the pathways. Sulfur containing we already complete in detail, so there is no confusion. There are two important things we understand. One carbon metabolism, what is the meaning of that one carbon metabolism? This is question may ask, one carbon metabolism, okay. Group containing a single carbon atom are called one carbon group, and it is one carbon group are formed by the several amino acids during their metabolism, okay. And these are amino acids which can form one carbon metabolism. Let me see, that is methyl, methylene, methylene, formyl, formino groups, okay. These all are one carbon metabolism. One carbon metabolism. How it is formed? It is formed by these amino acids: serine, glycine, histidine, tryptophan. Okay? And the one carbon group are transferred by the way of THF, tetrahydrofolate. If you studied, it is one of the most important active form of water soluble vitamin. You second one. Tell the name of these vitamins which have this active group, THF. Tell the name. It is very important for pregnant ladies. Due to deficiency of this vitamin, there may be a chances of disease called spina bifida. You know, folic acid, it is vitamin B9. It is tetrahydrofolate is which one? Yes. Okay. Now these are the structure of tetrahydrofolate. Folic acid, one of the most important vitamins. Okay. And it is why I am showing this tetrahydrofolate structure, because this group can transfer one carbon metabolism for further metabolic pathways. That is important. Okay. One carbon metabolism attached with N5 and N10, and both N5 and N10 nitrogen group. That means N5 methyl THF, N5 N10 methylene THF, You already seen in this previous reaction. I will show you. प्रीवियस सेक्शन में दिखाया था कि नहीं, N5 N10 डिपेंडेंट था, N5 N10 मिथाइलिन THF, N5 फॉर्माइल THF, N5 formino THF. What does it means? It means these tetrahydrofolate groups are combined with this single carbon group for transfer of this group for further metabolism. Okay, so these different derivatives are interconvertible. Now you will see source of one carbon group, glycine tryptophan, which forms these one carbon formate methylene group, methyl group, and SAM, adenosine methionine. Okay, and these forming these carrier derivatives, and where it is utilized, how it is degraded, how it is utilized. Firstly, there is a formation of one carbon metabolism, how it is formed by glycine serine, and after then how it is utilized. It is utilized for purine synthesis, pyrimidine nucleotides, synthesis of methionine from homocysteine, and synthesis of choline, creatine, and epinephrine, and DNA and RNA, transcription RNA. Okay, so all these are very important. One carbon metabolism. What is the importance of this? One carbon group at different level of oxidation and transfer made available by the way of tetrahydrofolate and vitamin B12 coenzyme for the use in wide variety of vital anabolic process. It is majorly for synthesis of some other products. So it is one carbon metabolism, very short topic. You cover this, you read this. Okay. Now biogenic amines. What is biogenic amines? You understand, decarboxylation of amino acid forms amines, and these amines are called biogenic amines. You kept in your mind how these biogenic amines are formed? It is formed by the decarboxylation reaction. Decarboxylation reactions, there is a formation of amines, and this is PLP dependent decarboxylases. PLP dependent decarboxylases. Okay. Now all of you understand why this physician suggests multivitamins always for better metabolic enhancement. मल्टीविट दे दिया, A to Z दे दिया, क्यों सजेस्ट करते हैं? क्योंकि आपका बेहतर मेटाबॉलिज्म हो सके. ठीक है. These are all biogenic amines and their important function. Dopamine, it is formed by tyrosine. It is function as neurotransmitter. Norepinephrine, neurotransmitter. Epinephrine, it is act like a hormone. Serotonin, vasoconstrictor. GABA, neurotransmitter. It is actually neuroinhibitors. How this GABA is functioning? If you know the physiological action of GABA, this is gamma aminobutyric acid. It is act on postsynaptic nerves, where they causes maximum entry of potassium ion in the neuron cells, and due to this there is hyperexcitability occur. Hyperexcitability of such neurons occur. Okay. So all these are what? These all are biogenic amines. If I will ask these questions to you, give the example of biogenic amines, then you are able to give the answer. It is serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, tyramine, serotonin, melatonin. Melatonin is responsible for coloration of skin and hair. Okay, taurine, spermine. So all these have different function, very important function. And now polyamines, biological amine made up of multiple amino acid called polyamines. It is putrescine, spermidine, and spermine. So all these are polyamines. These questions may be asked in your exam, sometimes, not always. Okay, so that is also an important thing. So all these are amino acids. These are majorly in the important in treatment of cancer and diagnosis, and assay for urinary and blood polyamines used for cancer and successive therapy. These are ultimately, here we complete the metabolism of protein. Here we complete the metabolism of amino acid. Now I summarize, you understand how will you study it, these metabolism. Okay? Firstly, we take protein dietary protein, which is the first step. Digest and absorb. Digest and absorb. You know, proteins are generally present in which forms? In dipeptides, tripeptides, and polypeptides. Dipeptides and polypeptides. So protein is not always it is not always forming us amino acids. Some other products are forms which having special functions. Okay. After the digestion and absorption, it is by the activity of peptidases. Peptidases. That means it's having endopeptidases or exopeptidases. It's break down into a smaller protein and it's can absorb and it form finally into amino acid. I can summarize only. From this way, you can easily understand the metabolism of protein. Okay? We take proteins, dietary protein or our synthesizing protein we also occur like albumin and globulin, it is synthesized in our liver. Okay? And this we take further going for digestion and absorption process. What is happening? It convert into a amino acid. Now we amino acid metabolism, that is glycine and alanine. Glycine and alanine. Glycine is a very important amino acid. Very important amino acid, glycine, because it is, I will show you the role of glycine. Now you will see. Now you will see the role of glycine. Glycine is participate in formation of several other amino acids, serine in detoxification reaction, for the synthesis of proteins, for the synthesis of collagen, for synthesis of nucleic acid, glutathione, creatine, glucose. So it has a major functions. Okay. After these, that is branch. We complete here. Branch is acid. Disease metabolic disorder also. Glycinuria. Okay. Now branch chain amino acid, that is isoleucine, leucine, that contain a disease called MSUD, maple syrup urine disease. Maple syrup urine disease. Okay. After then we go for the next metabolism, aromatic amino. Tyrosine. Tyrosine. A very important metabolism. Very important metabolism. Because from tyrosine there is a disorder, phenylketonuria, melalin, albinism, alkaptonuria. All these disorders occur. These are major disorders. And the case study which is asked in your exam from this one. From this one, PKU, phenylketonuria, tyrosinemia, albinism. Okay. So the case comes in your exam from this one. Okay. From aromatic amino acid. Sulfur containing amino acid. Sulfur containing amino acid, which is methionine, cysteine and cysteine. Methionine, cysteine and cysteine. And after this metabolism, your topic is over. So you will go step by step. Firstly, you understand digestion and absorption. Okay. Then you understand simple amino acid metabolism in the written way. Write all these metabolic pathway in your copy 1 time, 2 time, 5 times. बिल्कुल रट लो उसको, अच्छी तरह याद कर लो, समझ लो एकदम, उनको भूलना नहीं है. इफ इट इज कम्स इन योर एग्जाम, राइट इट द मेटाबॉलिक पाथवे डायरेक्टली. जैसे मैं यहां पे लिख देता हूं वैसे आप लोगों को लिखना है. ठीक है, इसीलिए मैं लिखवा के आपको प्रैक्टिस करवा रहा हूं. दैट्स व्हाई आई विल गो फर्दर प्रैक्टिस. ठीक है, समझ में आया कैसे पढ़ना है, किस तरीके से कंप्लीट करना है. आपका यहां पे ये टॉपिक कंप्लीट हो चुका है. Now from Monday we start the another topic, lipid metabolism. Okay? Okay, thank you.
It is posterior compartment is known as calf and it corresponds to front of the forearm. It contains the flexor muscles of the foot, which include the powerful anti-gravity muscles. These two important muscles are present, gastrocnemius and soleus. Okay. So these are the contents of the back of the thigh. These structures you have to see. थोड़ा A बैच तो. Okay, so है मैंने 1 to 75 तो. Okay. So muscles are the gastrocnemius, soleus, plantaris, popliteus, flexor digitorum longus and tibialis posterior. These muscles you will see. Nerve as the tibial nerve. Okay. After crossing the popliteal fossa, it enters into the back of the leg. Sorry, the thigh होगा ना, leg होगा. And arteries are the tibial and peroneal arteries and flexor retinaculum you will see. Tibia, here is fibula. These are the intermuscular septums. Okay, anterior, this is anterior, posterior intermuscular septum. And these are the different compartments. That are anterior compartment, lateral compartment containing the peroneal muscles, and extensor muscles. Here are the flexor muscle. Back of the leg mainly contains the flexor muscle, flexors of the foot. So these muscles are lying in 3 layers. That is important. Okay, superficial, intermediate, and deep layer, separated by fascias. This is deep fossa of the leg. Then there are 2 fossa dividing the layers, separating the muscle into 3 layers. Superficial most is the gastrocnemius and soleus, and in between the two, sometimes the plantaris tendon is present. So this is superficial most. Next, intermediate compartment. It contains the flexor digitorum longus and flexor hallucis longus. Hallucis is lying laterally towards the fibula, okay? But near the sole of the foot, the crossing of these tendons occurs, okay? Digitorum is going to lateral four toes and hallucis, flexor hallucis longus, it is going to the great toes. Hallux means great toe, okay? Going to the hallux. And in between these two muscles, neurovascular components are present, that is tibial nerve and posterior tibial vessels. And under cover of this muscle, flexor hallucis longus, under cover of this lies this peroneal vessels. Okay, and deepmost, just in front of this intermuscular septum, interosseous membrane, here lies the tibialis posterior, okay, deepmost compartment. So these are the three compartments: superficial most containing gastrocnemius, soleus and plantaris; intermediate containing two flexor muscles, flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus. Hallucis is lateral, you have to remember, okay. Hallux is present medially because crossing of these tendons of these two muscles are occurring. And neurovascular compartment is lying in this area containing tibial nerve and posterior tibial artery. And under cover of this flexor hallucis longus lies this peroneal vessels and deepmost compartment containing tibialis posterior, just posterior to this interosseous membrane. Okay, so these structures you have to see, and this is lying within the superficial fossa, small saphenous vein and sural nerve. Okay, this discussion has been done in discussion regarding all these contents. কি পড়ানো হয়েছিল ব্যাক অফ লেগে? মাসেলস, মাসেলস অরিজিন, ইনসারশন, নার্ভ সাপ্লাই অ্যাকশন সব হয়ে গেছিল, নার্ভস আর ভেসেলস হয়নি নাকি? ওকে, okay, so in the superficial fossa of back of leg, it contains the part of short and great saphenous veins and cutaneous nerve. So small saphenous vein, it is formed at the lateral border of the dorsum of the foot by the union of lateral end of dorsal venous arch and the lateral dorsal digital vein. It enters the leg by passing behind the lateral malleolus. This location is important. Small saphenous vein passes behind the lateral malleolus, okay, but great saphenous vein passes in front of the medial malleolus, okay. That relation is important and ascends upward lateral to the tendocalcaneus. If further ascends along the midline of the calf and pierces the deep fossa in the lower part of the popliteal fossa, finally opens into popliteal vein, okay, drains into popliteal vein. What are the tributaries? Medial end of dorsal venous arch, lateral dorsal digital vein, the formative tributaries mainly. Okay. Short saphenous vein, it is accompanied by sural nerve. Sural nerve was cutaneous branch from the tibial nerve. And vein of Giacomini, it is a communicating vein between great saphenous vein, short saphenous vein. Okay, it crosses the thigh posterior-medially from popliteal fossa to the upper part of the front of the thigh. And great saphenous vein is accompanied by the saphenous nerve. Okay. Saphenous nerve, you have seen cutaneous branch from the posterior division of femoral nerve, longest nerve, cutaneous nerve. Now, great saphenous vein formed at the medial border of the dorsum of the foot by the union of medial end of dorsal venous arch and the medial marginal vein. On the back of the leg, it is seen only on the posterior medial side of the knee. Okay. And cutaneous nerve, this cutaneous nerve you will see, this is short saphenous vein. Okay. And here is the great saphenous vein, medial side of the knee. And these are the cutaneous nerve, yellow ones, okay. These are the branches of saphenous nerve. Here is the medial cutaneous nerve of thigh, posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. This is sural communicating nerve. Here is the sural nerve, and this one is the lateral cutaneous nerve of the calf. So this cutaneous nerve you will see. Skin of the back of the leg is supplied by the following nerves: saphenous nerve, posterior division of medial cutaneous nerve of thigh, posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, sural nerve, lateral cutaneous nerve of calf, sural communicating nerve, and medial calcaneal branch of tibial nerve. So these are the cutaneous nerves. Saphenous nerve, okay, it is a branch of posterior division of femoral nerve, accompanies the saphenous vein. Distribution is important, very frequently asked in viva. Saphenous nerve distribution, okay, it gives branch to the subsartorial plexus, also gives infrapatellar branch and other cutaneous branch to the skin of the front and medial side of the leg and medial border of the foot up to the ball of the great toe, that is the supply. Next is posterior division of medial cutaneous nerve of thigh. Root value is L2, L3. It supplies the skin of anterolateral side of the thigh and uppermost part of the medial 1/3 of the calf. This one, posterior division of medial cutaneous nerve of thigh. See, this is the distribution, cutaneous supply. Okay, medial cutaneous nerve of thigh, posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, lateral cutaneous nerve of thigh. Here is the saphenous nerve, supply of saphenous nerve, sural nerve up to the ball of the great toe. Sural nerve is lying lateral on the lateral side. Saphenous nerve is extending up to the ball of the great toe, and this heel area is supplied by medial calcaneal nerves. Okay, so posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, this one pierces deep fossa in the middle of the popliteal fossa and descends along with short saphenous vein. Distribution supplies a part of gluteal region, upper and medial side of the thigh, and main part of the back of the thigh and upper half of the intermediate area of the calf is supplied by posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. Sural nerve, sura means calf in Latin. Root value H5, S1, S2. Okay, it is a branch of tibial nerve, arises in the popliteal fossa, descends between two heads of gastrocnemius, pierces the deep fossa, accompanies the short saphenous vein, joined by the communicating nerve or sural communicating nerve, branch of peroneal nerve in the upper part of the calf, passes behind the lateral malleolus and then runs forward along the lateral border of the foot. Okay, here. Sural nerve. It supplies skin of the lower part of the back of the leg, lateral border of the foot and the little toe is supplied by the sural nerve. Lateral cutaneous nerve of calf, branch of common peroneal nerve, begins in the popliteal fossa, supplies skin of upper 2/3 of the lateral side of the leg. Okay, ওটার সামনের দিকে আছে সাপ্লাই, and sural or peroneal communicating nerve, lateral cutaneous nerve of the calf. Okay, next is sural or peroneal communicating nerve, L5, S1, S2. It is branch of common peroneal nerve, begins in the popliteal fossa, pierces the deep fossa, joins the sural nerve on the back of the calf and supplies skin of posterior-medial part of the lateral aspect of the calf. Okay, this is the supply. And medial calcaneal branches H1, S2 of the tibial nerve supply the skin of the heel and medial side of the sole of the foot. Okay, here. Okay, these are the clinical aspects. Sural nerve block useful for anesthetization of foot and lower leg. Local okay, regional anesthesia. Only foot need to be blocked, then sural nerve block is done. So sural nerve grafting. Sural nerve is most commonly used for nerve graft. Okay, because sural nerve is thick and long, purely sensory. Hence, to motor loss is not done and easily accessible nerve. Subcutaneous. Sural nerve neuroma. Sural nerve made from painful neuroma. Okay. And neuroma is known as pinched nerve. It is a tumor of nerve tissue. Now these three compartments has been discussed. Okay. Boundaries of the leg: anteriorly posterior surface of the tibia, interosseous membrane, fibula, and posterior endomuscular septum. Those cross section of the leg has been discussed. Okay, boundary of the back of leg. Posteriorly bounded by deep fossa of the leg extending from subcutaneous surface of tibia to the posterior intermuscular septum. These are the three divisions: superficial, intermediate, and deep, divided by two transverse facial septa. Okay, superficial transverse septa separates superficial and middle part attached to the soleal line of tibia, medial border of tibia, and posterior border of fibula. And deep transverse septum separates the middle and deep of the posterior compartment of leg, and it is attached to vertical ridge on the posterior surface of tibia and medial crest of the fibula. Okay, so three muscle layers: superficial part containing gastrocnemius, soleus, plantaris; middle part contains the flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus, posterior tibial nerve and vessels; and deep part contains the tibialis posterior. Okay, these structures you have to see. Okay, these are the flexor retinaculum. হাতে যেমন ছিল flexor retinaculum, like this. Here also flexor retinaculum is present. Flexor retinaculum of foot, also known as laciniate ligament or internal annular ligament, is a thick band of deep fossa on the medial side of ankle that holds the long flexor tendons of the ankle in position. Width is about 2.5 cm. Attachment: it is attached to this following such: anteriorly to the posterior border and tip of the medial malleolus, posteriorly to the medial process of calcaneum tuberosity. And these are the structures passing deep to the flexor retinaculum from medial to lateral. During tibia you have read ওই যে নিউমোনিক ছিল একটা, টিকটিকির ডিম ভেঙে আমি ভাই নাকাল হলাম, like this. Okay, so tendon of medial to lateral is tibialis posterior, then flexor digitorum longus, then posterior tibial artery with this veni comitatus, then tibial nerve and tendon of flexor hallucis longus. Okay, and these structure occupy a separate compartment and the leg tendons are covered by synovial sheath. This mnemonic also you can use. Talented doctors are never hungry. TF digitorum, doctor says digitorum, then A is artery, nerve, and H is hallucis. Okay. See, this is the location of the flexor retinaculum. Okay, under cover you can see those structures: tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, posterior tibial artery, tibial nerve, flexor hallucis longus. These are the structures. Okay. Attachment: medial malleolus, এদিকে calcaneum, anterior and posterior attachment. And see here, this posterior tibial artery, it is dividing into medial and lateral plantar artery. Those are arteries of the sole of the foot. Okay, and this tibial nerve is dividing into medial and lateral plantar nerve. These are the nerves of the sole of the foot. Okay, so schematic diagram you can practice. All those structures are present. Tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, artery, posterior tibial artery, tibial nerve, flexor hallucis longus. Okay. Muscle layers. Okay. Okay, the intermediate and deep, these two are considered together sometimes. Okay. Okay, individual muscles you have read, origin, insertion, nerve supply, action. I am not discussing it. Tendocalcaneus, you know, tendon of gastrocnemius and soleus. These two are together forming the tendocalcaneus, and it is inserting on the middle third of the posterior surface of the calcaneum. Okay, and plantaris is inserting medial to the tendocalcaneum if present. Sometimes plantaris is absent also, and it is also known as tendo-Achilles. Why? According to Greek mythology, Achilles was irresistible, invincible warrior, and he was held by his mother when he dipped him into holy water for making him invulnerable, and he was killed in the war by hitting on this tendon. Okay, because it was not protected by this holy water. That from that mythological story, it is also known as tendo Achilles. Okay, these are the clinical aspect. Tennis leg, tennis elbow পড়েছিল. Tennis leg, it is overstretching of the medial head of gastrocnemius. In tennis players, results in tear of the non-myotendinous junction of medial head of gastrocnemius, results in calf pain. It is known as tennis leg. And Achilles tendonitis involves pain due to thickening of the calcaneum tendon at its insertion. It occurs due to calcaneal tendon at its insertion and due to repetitive strain of the muscle. Okay. And Achilles tendon rupture occurs mostly in people playing recreational sports, maybe complete or partial tear and loss of plantar flexion. It helps in plantar flexion, tendocalcaneus, flexure of the foot. Okay. Okay, and these are also clinical aspect. Retrocalcaneal bursitis, most common heel bursitis, inflammation of bursa located between calcaneum and tendocalcaneus tendon. Okay, and calcaneal tendon reflex here ankle jerk is done here. Ankle jerk reflex or triceps suri, gastrocnemius and soleus together called triceps suri. Okay, and in the gluteal region you have seen tricipital tendon internus. Okay, so triceps suri is asked in your viva. It is a myotactic reflex elicited when person's legs are dangling over the side of the examining table. Calcaneal tendon is struck viciously with reflex hammer just proximal to the calcaneus, and normally plantification of the ankle joint occurs. And the tendon reflex stays the S1 S2 nerve root. Absence of ankle reflex occurs in S1 nerve root injury. Soleus, you have read, origin, insertion, nerve supply. So this is gastrocnemius, two heads forming tendocalcaneus. This is soleus, originating from the fibula soleal line of tibia, inserting here calcaneum, and here is the plantaris. Okay. See here the gastrocnemius has been cut. So this is soleus, and here is the plantaris has been shown. This is the origin of soleus. Insertion of tendocalcaneus and plantaris. Okay, this is very important. What is peripheral heart? It can come as a short note. Okay, soleus and gastrocnemius act together as a strong plantar flexure of the ankle joint, and large valveless venous sinuses are located in the substance of soleus and gastrocnemius. Here, this is the venous sinus. On contraction, these muscles pump out the blood and helping venous return from lower leg. Hence, especially soleus is called peripheral heart. Okay. and role as a bottom gear or top gear. Soleus muscle is a bottom gear as it mostly helps in standing with continuous stance, and gastrocnemius is top gear that provides force behind propulsion for walking, running and jumping. Okay. Soleus contains type 1 fibers, that is slow rate fatigue resistant muscle fibers that are suitable for continuous contraction during standing. Hence, soleus is considered as workhorse for plantar flexion, and gastrocnemius contains type 2 fast twitch white fibers and that are suitable for propulsive actions. Okay. Okay, deep muscle, one is popliteus, small triangular muscle, here you can see. Origin is from anterior part of popliteal groove that is located on the lateral surface of lateral condyle of femur, arcuate popliteal ligament and outer margin of the lateral meniscus. Fibers of popliteus spread out to form a flat triangular muscle forms the floor of the popliteal fossa. Okay, that is important. Popliteus is key muscle that unlocks the knee joint during knee flexion. Posterior part of popliteal groove is occupied by the tendon of popliteus during full flexion, and popliteus rotates the tibia medially when the foot is off the ground. And nerve to popliteus, which is a branch of tibial nerve, winds around the lower border of popliteus and supplies the muscle from its deeper or anterior aspect. Okay, so this is flexor digitorum longus dividing into 4 tendons. For this, lateral 4 toes. This is the origin. Here is the insertions. Okay, so and this is flexor hallucis longus. See, this is going to the lateral side. This is coming medially to the great toe. Flexor hallucis longus. Okay, originating from fibula. And this is tibialis posterior inserting into this bones. Okay, and here is the popliteus. Okay, where is the crossing occurring? See here, sole of the foot তোদের হবে না generally ওটা আসে না, তো in the sole dissection you can see the crossing. Okay, so tendon of flexor hallucis longus passes through the groove on the posterior surface of body of the talus and the groove in the inferior surface of sustentaculum tali of the talus, and tendon of flexor hallucis longus is crossed by tendon of flexor digitorum longus at their entry in the sole of the foot. Okay. During entry in the sole of foot, the crossing is occurring. Another clinical aspect is trigger to hallux saltans. It involves development of nodules along the tendon of flexor hallucis longus in dancers and runners who overuse the flexor hallucis longus. Okay. And stenosing tenosynovitis of flexor hallucis longus in ballet dancer is referred as dancer's tendinitis. Occurs due to extreme plantar flexion of the foot, which exerts stretching of flexor hallucis longus. This clinical aspect comes as you explain my questions. Okay. Okay, so we have completed muscles. So posterior tibial artery, main artery, terminal branch of popliteal artery begins at the lower border of popliteus in the popliteal fossa, runs vertically downward under the tendinous arch of soleus to reach the posterior medial side of the ankle, runs midway between the medial malleolus and medial tubercle of calcaneum under cover of flexor retinaculum, terminates deep to the flexor retinaculum and divides into median and lateral plantar arteries. Okay, this is posterior tibial artery. These are the branches. Okay, branches of posterior tibial: peroneal artery, muscular branches, nutrient artery to tibia, circumflex fibular branch, communicating branch for peroneal artery, medial malleolar, medial calcaneal, medial plantar, lateral plantar. Okay, tibial nerve root value is this. You have seen coming branch from the sciatic nerve. Course in the leg, you see it runs vertically downward under cover of tendinous arch of soleus along with the posterior tibial vessels, follows the course of posterior tibial artery in the leg. These are the branches. Terminates by dividing into medial and lateral plantar nerve deep to the flexor retinaculum. Branches are muscular branches to all these muscles of the back of the leg, and cutaneous branch, medial calcaneal nerve pierces the flexor retinaculum, supplies skin over the heel. Articular branch to ankle joint, terminal branch, these two branch, medial lateral plantar nerves. This is one. Okay, tarsal tunnel syndrome. ওই হাতে যেরকম হয় carpal tunnel syndrome, like this. Okay, tarsal tunnel syndrome. This is a condition where the tibial nerve is compressed within the tarsal tunnel, and this may occur due to osteoarthritis or trauma. It results in paresthesia of ankle and sole. Okay, paralysis. Okay, okay, that's all. Okay, so you have to see the muscle layers in 3 layers, okay, or you can consider superficial and deep. Gastrocnemius soleus plantaris in the superficial layer, intermediate layer, flexor digitorum longus, hallucis longus, flexor hallucis longus, tibial nerve and posterior tibial artery, and deepmost is tibialis posterior, okay. These structures you have to see. Okay, so you come in 2 batches, go to the cadaver.